Hello and welcome to another post-game edition of the PHNX D-backs podcast right here on PHNX. My name is Derek Montilla. Of course, I am your mayor of PHNX, and I'm starting to feel a little hungover from opening day. I am joined, of course, by my co-host, my friend, my vice mayor, the one and only Thunderstick Jesse Friedman.
Well, the D-backs looked a little hungover from something on a few occasions this evening, so we'll get into that.
Too many locker room beers, Jesse. Too many locker room beers. But of
There you
course,
go.
this show is brought to you by the fine folks at the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Go download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and get down on the NBA playoffs action. Bet just $5 any team to win in the NBA playoffs and get $150 in free bets instantly. No matter what. You clinch a win no matter what over at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Jesse, a much better offensive game today from the Arizona Diamondbacks, but not so
It's
great.
all very relative. 5 for 31, 2 runs scored. It's really
It's a start versus what we saw out of the first two games, right? In the first two games, side of Seth Beer's heroics, we didn't really see much of anything. We saw Ketel Marte get his first hit today, which felt kind of like a relief. You saw David Peralta having a big day, so of course that happened because, as we know, you are omnipotent, Jesse. But
I am, yes.
what both of us kind of saw coming, well, I guess you could call us both omnipotent, is when Ian Kennedy came in for his first relief appearance in this game. I think you and I started immediately text messaging each other saying, heart of the order, Ian Kennedy's first night out there back in Arizona. Don't feel good about this.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm like, a super downer or anything on Ian Kennedy overall. I think, he had a pretty solid year last season and hopefully has a pretty good year this year too. I'm just not sure he's quite as good of a pitcher as his numbers from the last few years indicate. He looked okay in spring training. I wouldn't say he looked great. I didn't see him in person a whole lot. The numbers were sort of just okay. But yeah, he's very fastball reliant. He throws a fastball more than 80% of the time. And tonight he just didn't really have his command locked down with the fastball. It was a little bit all over the place. A few of them got away way up in the zone. And his curveball was pretty uncompetitive. It's one thing to throw it in the dirt. It's another thing to throw it in the dirt, several feet in front of home plate. It felt like it was just not really a competitive pitch for him tonight, and it allowed the Padres hitters to get really comfortable.
Mark Melanson's curveball was not curving.
Yeah,
it was
correct.
Not curving, and that's you could tell, like, even with some of the first pitch balls that he was throwing that should have had more break to it. I think the concerning part here is that the Arizona Diamondbacks, as everybody knows, did not go out and spend a lot of money. The one area that they did show attention to was the back end of the bullpen, and that's what essentially lost them this game in the third game of the season. Now, I'm not ready to panic because I think right now the Arizona Diamondbacks and us as fans should be looking for those small improvements being made at times. I mean, if this is still the way games are going, in 2 months and they've lost, at this kind of win-loss rate, then I can understand people being a little bit frustrated. I feel like the Padres are a bit ahead of the Diamondbacks as far as their preparation. Their pitchers seem to be able to go longer. Their guys in general seem to be dialed in better. So if that's definitely a point of criticism for the Diamondbacks is, you had the same amount of time as a team like the Padres. So how is it that they are so more prepared than you seem to be?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head there. It's not just a matter of, a talent difference between the Padres players and the D-backs players, although that's certainly a factor. I mean, Joe Musgrove was really, really good today for San Diego, but you're right. The Diamondbacks just made a lot of mistakes tonight. There are a number of different things that you could point to in this game. You could even make an argument that the Diamondbacks shouldn't have given up a single run if their defense had locked things down as well as they might have been able to do. And that third inning, Christian Walker had a chance to turn a double play that would have ended the inning. He wound up going to second base for the safe out. They didn't get the out back at first base. And as a result of that, it allowed Manny Machado to hit an RBI double. It allowed Jake Cronenworth to hit an RBI single after that. There was a lot of damage done
It
with
was
2
such a
outs.
it was such a critical play, Jesse, and that's the
Yeah,
type of stuff that, like, Torey Lovullo feels that that's where they have an advantage somehow over other teams. And defensively tonight, they were making mistakes all over the place. Not even necessarily errors, not things that can go statistically against them, but
right,
like the line drive hit at Cattell that seemed to be the kind of play that a top second baseman in Major League Baseball should be able to make. And
right.
he looked a bit pedestrian out there when it came to that ball coming out. Now, don't get me wrong, that ball gets hit at me, and I'll actually die. That ball would have
Yeah.
actually murdered me. But I will say that Cattell, but that play that you talked about with Christian Walker, where it could have been out of the inning, and then that's where they score some runs. I thought honestly that was a big moment. That was a big play when you talk about Lovullo and talking about winning the inches. That's one of his
Right,
phrases.
right.
They didn't win the inches there, and that seemed to be like a play where just a bad decision was made on where to go. And you could have just stepped on first base and also thrown it down to second. I feel like you had a good chance to take care of that on your own. So I think
Yeah,
defensively there were a lot of gaffes being made, but of course we also talk about, Josh Hunt brings up, if Peralta's foul ball stays fair, we have a completely
yeah,
different ball game. But you could say
yeah.
the
Very
same
true.
about all the defensive mistakes. And yes, that's absolutely true. And I need to understand what this is about. Josh says also Lindsey is to blame for the wave, and I hate the wave. So
Yeah,
I need
I
to
believe
find out what happened.
Is that Lindsay Spano, I
Yeah,
think? I
yeah,
believe I saw on
yeah.
Twitter, yeah,
Oh,
Lindsay was talking
was
about
she
the wave. Apparently there
racing the
was a
wave?
I guess so, which
Man.
I also was critical of the wave today because apparently it was going crazy at Coors Field in the Rockies game against the Dodgers. But yeah, the wave is officially banned in this
Yes.
space. I don't know what's
Yeah.
going on over in Denver, but we do not live by the wave here in Arizona.
Sorry, I'm changing my cameras here for those of you that are noticing it. But Chris Melton seconds Josh Hunt's comments about the Peralta's foul ball staying fair. Giselle
Yeah.
Soto says, I was bracing myself for a no-hitter again today, but thankfully it wasn't. And
Yeah.
that's definitely something positive I think that we can take away here, was that at the very least the offense didn't look completely atrocious. The offense didn't look completely lost out there. They were very patient at times. And honestly, Jesse, it was the impatient at bats that frustrated me the most, and that seemed to be the glaring, like, like the first swing and pop up and things like that, where
Yeah, there were a
certain
few.
guys were taking such care to be selective with their pitches.
Joe Musgrove was really good again. You got to give the Padres their credit. Their starting pitchers in this series have allowed a combined 5 hits over 19 innings pitched, and they've struck out 18 and I think walked 5 and allowed, of course, just the 2 runs that Joe Musgrove allowed today, because neither Darvish nor Sean Manaea allowed any runs the last couple of days. So yeah, it's been incredible. What we've talked about with this Padres starting rotation. I mean, their offense might be a little thin right now without Fernando Tatis, but my gosh, this team can pitch. I mean, Darvish, followed by Manaea yesterday, and Musgrove today. I mean, it feels like the Diamondbacks just faced 3 aces, and now they get Blake Snell in Game 4 tomorrow, who I believe won a Cy Young Award a few years ago. So I mean,
You
the
are
depth
correct
of
about
this
that.
rotation is insane. And yeah, the Diamondbacks had some varying approaches. Some guys were trying to go deep. Some guys were trying to, jump on pitches early in the count. And, at the end of the day, they went 5 for 31, which is still around a buck 60 batting average as a team, which
Right.
I guess is an improvement over, 091 from the
090,
first
yeah,
couple of games of the
091.
season, but
Ugh.
still not quite what we're looking for here.
Well, Jesse, this is the kind of game, of course, as you know, that makes me want to go take some OG's gummies, because I want to forget about this one. And it depends on whatever you want to do with OG's, but OG's is one of Arizona's first original scratch-made cannabis kitchens and is dedicated to creating innovative and memorable cannabis-infused products that flavor life's journey. So if you want to go to sleep after a game like this and forget about it, they have a wonderful indica that comes in like an orange cream that you might enjoy. Or if you could also stay awake and watch cartoons, on mute with rap music on. Whatever you want to do,
There
however
you
you
go.
want to spend your night. But OGs will help you get there. And you can go over right now. You can find their products over at ogezbrands.com to find the nearest OGs nearest you. And remember, their entire thing is about flavoring life. And their gummies are delicious, by the way. I am a connoisseur, you could say, of edibles at times. It depends on what, like, trips to Vegas and other times, and Wednesdays. But you
Wednesdays, of
definitely,
course.
if you're familiar, you definitely know that some of those gummies can taste awful, and that's probably my favorite thing about OGs. They're light, they're fluffy, and they're very tasty. So definitely check out OGs because they are an incredible company. And mostly they take care of you. They got their dosing right and all that. And that's important. I know a lot of people aren't familiar with that. That's why it's important. You gotta read up on this stuff. It's a crazy world out there when it comes to the cannabis market. So, but we definitely thank you guys for joining us here on the post game show. And we have some positive stuff to talk about. Again,
We
Jesse
do.
wants to kind of undercut me getting excited about the offense going, but he shouldn't. He shouldn't, because once again, Jesse was right. Here's proof of that. Here's a screenshot from our conversation from earlier today where Jesse texted me to say, calling my shot tonight, big night for Peralta tonight. It's a lot of, you use the word night a lot in that one sentence.
Yeah, the moment I sent that text message, I wanted to
You just
omit one of
wanted to
my
take it
tonight.
back, yeah.
So yeah, that's
But you're
that's
glad
my
you did,
problem.
because then you're here with the called it, and you sure the hell did. But my favorite part about this, aside from me telling you were going to be insufferable, was that I screenshot this and left in this part about Joe Musgrove has been so much better than Zach Davies. D-backs have no business being tied in this game. Now, you weren't wrong about that, but you also didn't want that information being put on the internet. I understand.
Apparently,
okay.
when I
Tell you
text
speak
when
your
I
truth, Jesse. That's what we want. We want you to speak your truth.
apparently when I text Derek during the game, I have to be prepared that a screenshot of said text
At all times.
conversation may appear on our post game.
That's not just during games. That's at all times. That's day, night. It doesn't matter. That's constantly.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a fear my friends have learned to have at all times. That's why they don't text me anymore. But definitely David Peralta had a big night, and more than anything, he had a big spring. He talked about the improvements he made. We hadn't really seen those improvements really translate onto the field yet up until tonight. And tonight, not only did he have a great night, he drove in all of the D-backs runs and just had a home run, had a huge night. But even his outs were significant outs. Like we said, if that one ball
or his foul balls,
right? His foul balls,
Yeah.
they were all, they were all pretty impressive. But yeah, David Peralta, great night.
I have to I need to do some research into this at some point, but I personally, just from my experience, get the sense that if you nearly homer and hit the ball foul, I feel like your odds of striking out on the next pitch go up like astronomically. Like, it feels like the moment that you nearly hit a home run and it's just barely foul, you are doomed to strike out on the next pitch. And unfortunately, that's what happened with David Peralta there in the 8th inning.
Well, in a game like this, of course, we don't have too many choices, and he definitely, hands down, was it. David Peralta, our king of the game, 2 for 4 with a home run and 2 RBI. And honestly, like, something we expect to see more of out of him this season. Look, I know it's easy to look at this series, to look what happened tonight, and to look what, like Jesse said, even on a night where we're considering the offense to have picked up, it's still not very good. This is a very good Padres team. And if anything, we were concerned about the starting pitching, and it did not disappoint when we talk about being concerned about it. We looked at the starting rotation before the series even started, and we couldn't believe how many starting pitchers that were good quality, number 2, number 3 starting pitchers that the Padres had on their roster. They had like 8 at one point before they made the trade to get, I think it was Paddock out of there. So
yeah.
like,
Chris Paddock had a rough year last year, but he has an awfully high ceiling for someone who is going to be used as like a back of the rotation starter for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's one thing when I spoke to Jeff Bannister that he knows a lot about. He knows a lot about these starting pitchers. And there was a big part of him that's like, as much as you want to say what the hell is wrong with the Arizona Diamondbacks offense,
Yeah.
they face some very good starting pitchers in this series. And I think the Padres are going to be problematic as far as starting pitching goes for a while, because they not only have good
Yeah.
starting pitching, but they have depth, something the Diamondbacks know nothing about right now when it comes to starting pitching.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll get into Zach Davies here a little bit in a moment, but yeah, the Padres starting pitching in this series has just been insane. And we've seen teams in the past where even if your offense is a little bit light, you can get by if you have, what feels like potentially 5 number 1 or number 2 starters on this team. So, yeah, the Padres are going to be a good team, even if, the offense struggles without Fernando Tatis here for the first few months.
And Michael says relievers have bad outings. It happens. They need someone other than David Peralta and Seth Beer to hit, though. And he's absolutely right about that.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, the sense of relief I had about Ketel Marte took me right back to that a moment in that movie Little Big League that I love, Jesse, where the manager, the kid, the boy that becomes a manager that owned the Twins, gets so excited about their seasoned veteran first baseman that he was a fan of before he had anything to do with being on the team, gets a hit. And I think the bench coach looks at him and is like, isn't there something wrong when you're getting this excited about a single, And like, that's kind of, I guess, the moment I felt with Ketel Marte today, just a little bit, where like I realized how excited I got just because he got a hit. This guy has been super consistent, and I we've almost kind of taken it for granted that he's so good, right? So now he's kind of struggling a bit, and it's for me internally, it's that, come on, let's go. Like, what's going on with you? That kind of thing.
Dalton Varsho also has really struggled so far. He just seems
that happened last year too, right?
Yeah, he looks exactly like he did at the beginning of last year, where his timing is just way off. He's just behind on every fastball. He's early on every breaking ball. I think he's 0 for 12 to start the season. And we know, based on what we saw toward the end of last year, he's going to figure things out at some point. But he's still a young player. And a lot of times young players, when they start to figure things out, the league starts to figure them out. And it's this back and forth where, adjustments are made against you, and then you have to adjust to those adjustments. And I'm not sure Dalton Varsho has quite been able to do that yet. And his spring wasn't incredible either. So it's just been kind of a slow start for him across the board.
He's been good defensively this spring in center field. He's made some really good plays.
He has.
And he's even done that on the diamond, here in the series. But again, it's just the offense isn't clicking for him, isn't clicking for Pavin Smith, isn't clicking for a lot of these guys, and guys that I mean, again, it's weird how it's this epidemic across the team. It's not even like one guy struggling. It really has been. And that's the funny thing about looking at this series is I don't feel like enough credit is being given to the Padres starting pitchers, really is what it comes down to. Right. Joe Musgrove today is a great pitcher, like you said, and the D-backs actually got to him. They scored some runs against him. It wasn't enough, mostly because late in the game, they couldn't do anything effective against the Padres bullpen, and the Padres were able to do something effective against ours. But it still was one of those games where, like, you goes to show that this team isn't completely inept. They can step up even against a good pitcher like Joe Musgrove. But like Michael said, has to be someone other than David Peralta and Seth Beer, Right. And that was another funny thing too, is the amount of people that blame last night's loss on Seth Beer not being in the lineup. And I hope this makes you understand a little bit more that he had a
rough game. He
really
grounded into a double play. He hit a pop-up. He struck out. It wasn't a great showing for him, which of course is going to happen. But in some ways, I'm not like that concerned, Derek, because the Diamondbacks offense after 3 games is 10 for 86. Like, could you imagine if they were actually 2-1 right now instead of 1-2? Like, that would be insanity if somehow they'd found a way to win this game anyway. So,
and again, this kind of goes back to what Lovullo's belief in this team is, right? Like, that's why it comes down to those winning the inches kind of comments, right? It comes down to, if we can be perfect, if we can
Yeah.
learn to be perfect, which is so hard to achieve, then we can still be better than the most talented team, right? But from what we've seen in this series, this team right now is far from perfect, right?
Yeah. Right.
Defensively, offensively, pitching, there's all sorts of issues to still address. I think you and I both felt like with Ian Kennedy coming into the situation that he came into, it might have just been a bit much all at once. His re-debut, coming
Yeah,
in with a high
it
pressure
was more of a like
situation.
it was more of like a gut feeling for me. It wasn't like, "Oh, Ian Kennedy's incapable of getting Manny Machado
Right.
out." It was more
Right.
just
No, no,
like,
no.
I just
Totally.
don't have a good
It
feeling
feels,
about
yeah.
this. Yeah.
But it's because we're covering the Diamondbacks. That's what that gut feeling was. It's the gut
Yeah.
feeling. It's the same thing the Brute Squad, our boys, what's up to the guys over at the Brute Squad? They say, "Don't worry, boys, the bats will come around." Unfortunately, when that happens, the pitching will yank. This is the Diamondbacks way. And yes, this is the way. This is the way.
Oh
And
gosh. Oh
yeah, that's
god.
kind of how this game even felt a little bit. Like, it felt like, okay, all right, we got some offense rolling.
We got some offense. We got a
Zach
1-0
Davies
lead.
looks
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And then here comes, the bullpen, unfortunately, not only, giving up runs, but giving up enough runs that it made it hard for the Diamondbacks to not only feel like the game was close, but, I feel like as a baseball player, as a hitter, you might start mentally checking out once your team's down by more runs than you think in the moment you're capable of, which is why
Yeah.
baseball is such a mental game. We we talked about the Dodgers mentality going into the locker room before a game versus what the Diamondbacks probably is. One phrase that was used was that they're still tending to old wounds when it comes to the Diamondbacks, and what that is in reference to is how last season went, and a lack of confidence and a lack of belief. Believing you really were
Yeah.
as bad, believing this team is as bad as that record indicated, believing that there weren't a huge variety of factors that caused that season to be as bad as it was, right? But that's not what, like, the new coaches and the new people coming in who here are looking at, or how they feel about this team. It's just how the team feels about themselves, right? So I think, again, it's a matter of confidence and belief. And the Diamondbacks really have shown in the series that they can hang with the Padres. It just, like the Brute Squad says, it feels like once something gets fixed, something else
Yeah.
breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, and Zach Davies did a nice job today of limiting damage. I didn't think he really had great stuff. His command was maybe a little bit shaky at times. It felt like the sinker and the cutter specifically was sailing up in the zone, which is not really where Zach Davies wants those pitches when he's living in the upper 80s, low 90s as far as velocity is concerned. So yeah, but he did a nice job limiting damage. I mean, 2 runs in 5 innings. He was able to get up to 75 pitches, which I had some questions about, where his pitch count was going to be, just given that he got to a little bit of a later start than some of the other guys in camp. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
it was
That was
just
one of our main concerns. Absolutely. And you wrote about
yeah,
that on gophnx.com, which, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to sign up, go sign up to become a member. Our annual membership will get you our free t-shirt. And of course, we have a brand new t-shirt out that you have seen. It's the snake design with the bats. It's awesome. And you guys can get that this Monday. So if you sign up, become a membership, sign for annual membership, you can go pick yourself out whatever size you want of that new shirt, and you will get it free as part of your membership. If you're not interested in the annual membership, sign up for the month-to-month option, and you'll get your first month for just 50 cents. And you'll get all of our wonderful writing, including Jesse's piece on Zach Davies, what kind of went wrong last season, and where he could potentially be, where his ceiling is. I felt like tonight we saw a very effective guy, right? We saw a very effective
yeah,
starting pitcher, right? And to be honest, he went longer than we expected him to, not only in his pitch count, because we thought he would be limited due to being kind of held back a bit, but we also thought that he would be limited on the number of innings. He went 5 innings, and again, a great outing, all things considered. The circumstances aren't ideal, right? The Arizona Diamondbacks, they have a different game plan. I saw a lot of talk about, what Yu Darvish did and Sean Manaea did. The Diamondbacks just they're not following the same game plan the Padres are. They want to be a little bit more cautious with their starting pitching. And again, the Padres are in a completely different mode of competitiveness right now versus the Diamondbacks. So these two teams are not
Yeah.
operating the same at this point, right?
You're just saying because, like, the pitch counts for the Padres have gotten a little
Yeah,
bit
well,
higher
just a
than the pitch
little
counts?
higher, but
Yeah.
not much. But there was a
Yeah,
lot
not
of
much.
people kind of speculating on that. A lot of people saying the Diamondbacks were being too conservative, especially with like Merrill Kelly's performance the other day. The fact is that pitching has not really been the problem in these series. And in this particular game, it really was the bullpen. But when you get down to it, starting pitching length, how long it goes, yes, that's been the problem, but not the
Yeah.
quality of the starting pitching we're currently getting.
I don't really think I mean, the Padres pitchers have gone deeper in games, but they haven't necessarily thrown more pitches. Joe Musgrove today actually threw 74, so he was one pitch under what Zach Davies threw. He was just able to get an extra inning out of that
Right.
because he's Joe Musgrove and he was super efficient. And I don't think Bob Melvin wanted to give Sean Manaea the 7th inning yesterday.
No.
Because yeah, and I think Sean Manaea sort of won that battle and was able to eke out one more inning, and then of course he was done after that at I think 88 pitches. So that was stretching things a little bit for Bob Melvin and the Padres.
Well, we got to give it up once again to David Peralta, our DraftKings king of the game. Yeah, our friend Chris says that this crown placement makes him look like a Roman helmet, and I don't disagree.
Well, crown placement in baseball is more challenging because
it is.
They're always wearing hats or
always got a hat or helmet on,
whatnot.
right?
Yeah,
We got to figure something
little bit
out
different.
By the way, check out our friends over at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Again, that NBA playoff season for us here in Phoenix is a magical time, folks. We got to get excited. We got to keep that energy high. You got to drink water. You got to stretch. Got to make sure you're not going to cramp up cheering for those Phoenix Suns. But get ready for all the action by betting the play-in tournament with the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can bet $5 on any team to win in that playoff tournament, or play-in tournament, I should say, and get $150 in free bets instantly. You clinch a win no matter what. It doesn't say here anything about you needing to win that game. It just says you have to bet $5 on any team to win, and you will get $150 in free bets instantly. All DraftKings Sportsbook customers can also bet on NBA hoops with same-game parlays by combining multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. The more legs you add, the more money you win. Plus, for each day of the play-in, you'll get a free risk-free bet up to $10 if your same-game parlay doesn't hit. So, hey, go in there, bet $10, and then if you don't hit, you get that $10 back. You know who's not in the playoff play-in game? The Phoenix Suns. Because, as Espo would say, the Phoenix Suns are the best team in the NBA.
I'm sorry, it's just not the same. It's not the same.
It's like them
Espo's the only one who can do that.
When you guys call yourselves the mayor and shit, it's not the same, Jesse. But you know who's not?
Well, I'm the vice mayor. I don't try to call
aren't in the play-in game because the Suns bounced them. But download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PHNX. Bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game during the play-in tournament and get $150 in free bets instantly. That's code PHNX at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 and over only. Arizona only. Gambling problem? Dial 1-800-NEXT STEP. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. That's all I got, Jesse.
I've got some optimism. I've got some optimism here. I've got optimism. You know why? Because
for the Diamondbacks.
For the Diamondbacks, because you know what, Derek, this offense, like we just said, is 10 for 86. And if ever an offense was due to just absolutely break out and knock the crap out of the baseball, it's this Diamondbacks offense right now. They are due for a big game. Caleb Smith had a pretty good spring training, so we'll see what he looks like in his season debut tomorrow. And I feel like the Diamondbacks have a decent chance to get a split tomorrow, and that would be a really good outcome given how insanely good the Padres pitching has been so far in the series and how the Diamondbacks bats have combined for 10 hits in the first 3 games. If they can find a way to do that, I mean, this is a great start to the season for them. Yeah. So I have hope going into tomorrow.
Let's take a look at that upcoming schedule that you talked about. As we see here, we got these couple of tough losses on Friday and Saturday. One more against the Padres. Then we have Houston for set of 2 for just 2 games on the 12th
Wow,
and the
those are
13th.
both day games. That's
They're
really
both day
weird.
games. Yeah, interesting. I
Wow,
don't
the
recall a
Diamondbacks
time
don't
ever
they
seeing that.
don't they don't have a night game literally all of next week.
Correct. Yep, because the Sunday's game is a
Weird.
1:10 start. Tuesdays against Houston is a 1:10 start at Chase Field. Wednesdays is a 12:40 start, and then they fly to New York for a 3-game set with the Mets. And their start time for Friday and Saturday are both 10:10 a.m. starts. So those will be one at
Breakfast with
1:10.
the Diamondbacks.
Well,
It's a fun thing.
if you live in New York, but if you live here, it's going to be even earlier, right? It's 7:10 a.m.
No, 10 is the time is Arizona
Oh,
time
it's Arizona
already.
time. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you for that
That'd be
clarification.
really weird. Like an actual like 10 a.m. local time baseball game. That'd be
Right.
really
Oh, yeah.
weird.
I don't even know what I was thinking. You're absolutely right. But yeah, that's a 10:10 local start. So yeah, breakfast, maybe brunch. We'll see. I don't know. I'm excited for
Brunch.
those.
There you go.
Jesse and I, we're going to be traveling to those, and that isn't happening any longer because let's be honest. This is the New York's an expensive place to go. And you're looking at 2 riders that don't make very much money. So anyway, we can't wait though for the Diamondbacks to go on their road trip. We're also looking for them to kind of feast a little bit, not necessarily against the Mets, but I think they have a 4-game set the following week with the Nationals, and maybe
Yeah,
they can get things rolling there.
The Nationals don't look so good. Patrick Corbin was their opening day starter, which unfortunately means they're probably not a great baseball team at this stage of Patrick Corbin's career. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be a needed respite given, you know, the Astros and then the Mets. This is a really tough stretch for the D-backs to open the season.
I will say this about the Diamondbacks is that even during spring, I thought that they looked a little slow to get out of the gate. I was a little bit worried, and then before we got out of the month of March, they were putting up 10 runs in games left and right.
Yeah,
Like the
sure.
offense really started getting going. So hopefully, what we're seeing right now is a similar effect. That the initial nerves mixed with, let's be honest, facing some very good starting pitching, but
Yeah.
maybe this is kind of what they needed to wake them up a little bit and get them in the right headspace and go on to face the Astros that they might be able to catch a couple of games on, as well as I don't know what's going to happen with that Mets series, but that Mets team looks pretty damn good. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens there. But we thank you guys.
Blake Snell is a lefty. So tomorrow, as much as I want to be optimistic about the offense, the Diamondbacks are going to have to find a way to hit a lefty.
Yeah,
so something to keep an eye on in tomorrow's game.
Shout out to our super fan, Chris Melton, who will be at both the D-backs and the Suns games tomorrow.
Wow.
I don't know how you do it, but
that
God
is incredible.
That exhausts me just reading it. But again, I appreciate your spirit. We thank you guys so much for checking out the show. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at cap_caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. Our show is at PHNX_D-backs. But of course, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you're listening to us right now on your favorite audio podcasting app, please subscribe to us there and drop us a 5-star review. Also, go over to our YouTube page at PHNX Sports, sign up, subscribe there, sign up for notifications, all that good stuff. That way you don't miss any of the content coming out from our PHNX team. A bunch of fun, talented people that are doing some incredible work that I enjoy very much myself. And that includes this guy sitting next to me. We thank you guys again so much for checking out the show. Please check out all of our partners, OG's brands. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook and sign up using our code of PHNX. And most importantly, join our family over at gophnx.com. We have some of the best content. Not only do you get all that stuff, members get members-only discounts at the PHNXLocker.com. And we also have our members-only Discord where we will chat about the losses, the wins, the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, and the ugly about this team all season long. So we thank you again so much for joining us on behalf of Jesse and myself. We appreciate you taking your time out to be here with us for this post-game show. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when all of the parts work together at the same time.